Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars, welcome to another PlayStation 4 review. Today's review is for Cooking Simulator. Now, I've played a few simulator games over the last few years. Car Mechanic Simulator, House Flipper, Garden Flipper, you name it, Thief Simulator. I'll generally try them because quite a lot of the times they're a bit of a laugh and they're quite chilled out and relaxed to play. So this came out yesterday on the PlayStation 4. I've put a lot of time into it. It was around £15 in the UK to buy, and it's brought to us by Big Cheese Studios. Now, what do you get with Cooking Simulator? Well, you get a number of modes to play around with. You've got a career mode. There's a cooking school, which essentially is a tutorial. You've got leaderboard challenge. Kind of speaks for itself, and I haven't dabbled much in that mode. And the sandbox mode, which is essentially you can do what you want in the sandbox mode, as you can in any sandbox mode, but they kind of encourage chaos in that mode where you can just blow things up, destroy the kitchen, or because all the recipes are open, all the ingredients are open to you, you can kind of experiment and play with all the recipes if you want to really do that as well. I spent a lot of time in the career mode initially, and then I played around in the sandbox mode as well. Right, so in the in the career mode, you kind of start off as a lowly chef in a low-ranking kitchen-stroke restaurant, and it's your job. You've got access to a small number of recipes, and you work your way through the day. You'll get certain orders that come in. There's 3 or 4 recipes early on. So there's a level of repetitivity about the game. You're just repeating the same recipes early on. It does get a little bit that way. And then, you've got to serve the meals up to the customer, and if they like it, they'll give you a good score, and you'll increase your fame. At the end of the day, you will get the opportunity to level up and pick perks, and perks can include things like being able to pick hot things up with just your bare hands, move around faster, etc, etc. Nothing overly exciting, and some skill points as well, which will give you better scores and things like that. Again, nothing earth-shattering, but it's nice, I suppose, that they've added the perk system and the skill system, but you don't really feel like it affects the game greatly, if I'm being honest. Right, so I spent the first 2, 3, 4 hours dabbling in the career mode. Early on, I was reasonably impressed with the game. It felt like, it really was a simulator, a cooking simulator. But I am not going to lie, I found, and still do find, the controls to be incredibly frustrating and horrific to use. Just when a recipe calls for you to blend something, for example, your heart stops in fear, because it's just, to pick up the hand blender and blend things in the pot is ridiculously difficult, and it shouldn't be. It took me early on about 20 minutes to figure out how to chop a lemon. I couldn't figure out how to chop. The controls are far more difficult than they need to be, and I think they could have simplified it, if I'm being particularly honest. Some things are dead easy, like picking up the salt and pepper pots and putting salt and pepper on ingredients. Pouring things into pans is fairly easy. Putting things in pans and cooking it is fairly easy. Putting things on baking trays, putting them in the ovens, again, fairly easy. It's when you're doing the more intricate things, like again, if you've got to fry a salmon steak on both sides, again, your heart sinks, because frying it on one side's a doddle, and then you've got to turn it over, so you get this spatula type thing. You've got to hold it, and then you've got to tilt the spatula until it goes on the other side. Sounds easy, but in reality, it would probably be easier finding the meaningful of life than actually flipping over a salmon steak in this game. So for me, the game is just littered with too many issues. It's very, very frustrating to play controller wise, and it gets to the point where that overtakes your enjoyment of the game, because there is quite a bit to enjoy here. You know, like I said, I don't think the graphics are bad. Yes, it's very simple. There's no ambience other than a radio you can turn on to get a bit of extra music, and all you hear is constant horns going outside of cars driving past. There's nobody else in the kitchen. There's nothing to interact with really. It gets very, very dull. There's a fine line between relaxing, chilled out, and just plain dull. And this, unfortunately, falls into the dull category after a few hours. When the mechanics of the game start really, really getting to you, it starts becoming dull, unfortunately. And for that reason, then, after about 4 or 5 hours of the career mode, I'd had enough, because simple things like pouring soup in a dish becomes a chore, and you think you've poured it in a dish, but you haven't. Somehow it's scattered everywhere. Just simple things like making a hamburger and things like that just become ridiculously difficult because of the controls that you're using here, and it's a real shame. So I spent quite a bit of my time then in the sandbox mode just destroying things because my frustration started to take hold. Massive problem with this game as well is in the tutorial mode, when you first start the game, it pins the recipe on the left hand side at of the screen, and you've got a Gordon Ramsay guy talking you through the recipe. That's actually quite helpful. And then when he buggers off, this Gordon Ramsay lookalike, the recipe is no longer pinned to the left of the screen, and you have to keep going to the TV screen to look at the recipe. It's really ridiculous. And you go to the TV screen and you cannot move down to look at the full recipe. It tells you if you use the left stick you can move down. You can see there, I pointed it out there on the screen. You can't move down. It doesn't let you move down the screen to see the full recipe. That's a problem, guys, with your game, because you can't see how to do the full recipe, and I couldn't see a way to pin the recipe to the left of the screen as it did in the tutorial stage. So unfortunately for me, this game is littered with far too many problems. It's frustrating to play, lots of potential here, but I think they've absolutely missed the mark with this one, unfortunately. Apparently there is a VR version of this, but it's certainly not on the PlayStation 4 yet. I'd be interested in playing this in VR, giving it another go maybe, but as it stands right now, it's just not working as it should. It's not entertaining enough, and for me it's a 5 out of 10. So I would say, guys, those of you looking for like a cooking type game or another relaxed, chilled out game, this probably is a little bit too frustrating to put in that category. So I would probably say give this one a miss, unfortunately. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you found this review useful.